Good morning, everybody. Shalom, shalom. Sorry for being a couple minutes behind schedule over here. Getting out of the house, a little tricky during quarantine, but I have a wonderful wife. Okay. 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 Boker Tov, Rob. Hi. And we've got Esther Haddad on Facebook and Mickey. Boker Tov. Mickey, I love your Hebrew. You're like learning new languages now. It's amazing. Is this the meditation and prayer classes that's influencing you, or what's going on over here? Mick, I'm so impressed. Stu Klein, thank you for joining me here, Stu. This is awesome. It's going to be a great trip. Marty Knopp, Boker Tov, and Elaine Collins. Lovely to see you. What am I doing? My page is in order. Here. Okay. Stacy Thor. Shalom, Stacy. I'm glad you made it live with me today. Great. Great to see you. Okay. Let's see what we got. Do we have a minion yet? Yep, we just hit the minion. Ed Hockman, you're the minion maker. Mickey Google Translates. Amazing. Just as I was getting inspired, Mick. Still, it's good. I'm still inspired by you. You always inspire me. Okay, good. So we are at minion levels now. Let's keep it up. We just passed the minion. Sarah, you made us to number 11. Let's make it happen. Okay. Boker Tov, everybody. By popular demand, we're going to be continuing the Gates of Trust at a slightly more expedited level. So that way we can cover swaths of learning instead of doing more repetitive stuff. Some people were concerned about the repetition. So what's going to happen is I'm going to be more mindful of not being repetitive. That's what I'm going to be doing. So we're going to be going through the Gates of Trust, however, with them being mindful of not really repeating stuff that we've done before. It's really not necessary. I think we got the message here. And I am now starting. Today's Wednesday. Okay, so good morning. And welcome to the Gates of Trust that we're learning today. We're covering today the second of the 7 concerns of man. And the second of the 7 concerns of man, the first one was our health. The second concern of man is wealth, which is what we're going to be really finishing today. We're covering the rest of wealth and our relationship with it. We're not going to be reading so much inside, maybe some selected excerpts. So just in case you do have the book, to let you know what page we're on, we're starting from the middle of page 409 is where we're going to be starting, and we're going to be hopefully finishing up the second of the 7 concerns, which is the concern of wealth. As Rob Berger points out, a very valid point. Thank you, Rob. That's why you're our chairman for the Millionaires. Rabbi, remind everyone to click like on Facebook and on YouTube. If you could spread the word, guys, we'd really appreciate it. Click like on Facebook and share this video on Facebook so that other people can join the conversation. We get people joining us from Atlanta, friends of friends of friends that are studying together, people that are being inspired. We're inspired. We're truly a global community. We are a village, and spread the good word. Also, so that's by liking us on Facebook and sharing us on Facebook. Also, if you could subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jewish Gardens. It's good stuff for everybody. And if you want, you can click that little bell on YouTube next to the subscribe link at youtube.com/Jewish Gardens. That little bell gives you notifications of when we're live in future. So the second of man's needs for which he has to turn to God, you have no other realistic choice to turn to, is the need of money, of wealth, of livelihood. Now, it's critical to understand, to remember, to really allow it to sink into our consciousness that no one is able to provide our livelihood except for God. And when that happens, you cannot earn any more than you've already been predetermined to earn. You simply cannot earn more than has been predetermined. And similarly, no one can take away what has been allotted to you. This reframes our entire perception of competition. Here we are, we're living our lives, we're always worried about what the other guys are doing. Every big company has an R&D division, research and development, which is code for watching out for the other guys and trying to work out what they are doing. In the mind of the one who trusts in God, you really have nothing to be afraid of, because what was determined to you has been allocated to your account. The funds have not been disbursed, but it's already in your spiritual account, and therefore you can rest assured, you can relax and be calm. It's got to be okay. Let me read you that little section. If the Creator ordains more for him, it will come to him without trouble or effort, provided he relies on God for it. And does not overly pursue natural means, or rely on them in his heart. Because if he relies on natural means in his own heart, it means that he's rejecting the governance of God. That was the doctrine of blind trust. We've spoken about that. If no more than his sustenance has been decreed for him, even if all those in heaven and earth were to try to increase it, they would not succeed in any way or by any means. So no extra effort will assist you in procuring more funds than you were initially allotted to, except one exception, two exceptions, and that is the money that you spend on Shabbos and Yontif. Those monies will be returned to you. You don't have to worry about them. And also the money that you give to tzedakah, where God says, I guarantee you that I will replenish and overcompensate for your expenses. You will not become poor through giving charity. Those funds will be returned to you. They're not part of your original account, your original allotment. Now, what does it mean and not to overly pursue natural means? Remember, it's about the mindset. If you're relying on God, God will provide. If you're relying on the medium, then God will not provide, right? Turn your back on God, God turns his back on you, as we've been learning in the series of Gates of Trust. There's actually something very counterproductive with working too hard, spending too much time in the office. And here's the problem. Business endeavors are similar to a garment in Hasidic, the way this is how it's explained in Chabad philosophy. Just as a garment, you want it to be the right size. If it's too small, it doesn't work. And if it's too big, it doesn't work. It's not going to help me to wear a size 52, whatever. I don't know sizes. But it's not going to help me to wear an extra large shirt. It's not going to take me anywhere. It's not going to take me anywhere. It's going to hurt me, actually. Just as a garment should not be too small, but should also not be too large. For if it is too large, you'll fall over it. You'll trip over your pants. So too in business matters, being overly absorbed is not only superfluous, it actually is destructive. Another point that I'll share with you about our relationship with God when it comes to money. And if he trusts in God, he will find peace of mind and tranquility of soul. For his allotted portion will not be transferred to another. Nobody else can take the money that's supposed to be yours. Nor will it come earlier or later than the appointed time. It gives us serenity. It gives us some peace of mind in a crazy world. But now let's talk about the test of wealth. And that's the next idea that Rabbi Dovid Vigler brings up. He basically says to us that when you become wealthy, you're effectively being tested. It's a test of wealth. Just like poverty is a test, so too wealth is a test. It's actually more of a difficult test than poverty is. This was actually the Rebbe's last discourse, the last teaching that the Rebbe taught before his stroke in 1992. The Rebbe said that the mission of our generation is to be able to serve God through plenty, not just through poverty. You see, when your back's against the wall, when you've got nothing to eat, it's, the recessions fill up the synagogues. But the successful, booming economies, they don't fill up the synagogues because people feel that they don't need to turn to God in a booming economy because I'm doing amazingly well. I don't need anybody else's help. It is my strength and the might of my arm, to quote the biblical verse, that has provided my success. So the Rebbe says in that last discourse that the challenge, the Jews of Russia, they had to fight the communists, they had to fight the Soviets, the Bolsheviks, they had to fight the Tsar. They had to stand up to fight for their faith. But we are called to fight for our faith in the face of plenty. It's even more difficult to fight to serve God under those conditions than it is to serve God when you have no one else to turn to but God. Okay? So the Rabbeinu Bachaya tells us now in the next piece that wealth is actually a test, and it's important to realize that once you know that, a lot of things fall into perspective. When you think about your comfortable lifestyle right now, when you think about the fact that you don't have that many problems, hopefully, right? At least not financial problems. And you realize that God is testing you in the following 3 ways. You start to realize the perspective, and hopefully you'll be able to overcome the test. I'd just like to welcome, in the meanwhile, all the people that just joined us. Let me see. Gavin, Brandon Meltz, Helen and Warren from Virginia, Harvey Barnett, who's soon to be on the way to Chicago, Hannah and Andy Siegelstein, Mark Macher, and from Delray, I think it is, appointed Susan Pelosi. Also, we have on YouTube, Stacy, Boker Tov, and Sarah, Susan Benson, Ron Collins, and Adrian. Sarah says, also when we pray for someone else, for something, we get that something first, whether good or bad. Okay, good. Robert Wardheimer and Deborah Goodman from Atlanta. Lovely to see you guys. Okay, so let's keep on moving here. The 3 tests of wealth are as follows. The 3 mistakes that you can make when you are successful with money. Number 1, if you trust in God, then your means of acquiring them of acquiring those funds will not conflict with your Jewish values. Whereas, not sure if I said hello to Kobe from Haifa. I'm not sure if I saw you there a second ago. Hi, Kobe. So the first thing is that the way that you acquire those funds, will you be ruthless, cutthroat in acquiring your funds, survival of the fittest kind of mentality, or will you do them through decent means that are perfectly aligned with your Jewish values? For example, aligned with keeping Shabbat, aligned with minyan, aligned with kosher restaurants, kosher food, kosher relationships, kosher conversations, or will they be whatever it takes in order to acquire those funds? So the one who trusts in God knows that the blessing comes from Hashem, and therefore everything that I do has to be consistent with God's will in order for me to receive my blessing. The one who doesn't believe in God, the one who doesn't truly trust in his heart, is one who will do whatever it takes, cutthroat, in order to attain his funding. Number 2, the second test of wealth is the belief, the mistaken notion that all of the wealth is intended for his own use. Really, tells us Rabbeinu Bachaya, there's 3 kinds of money. 3 kinds of money that come into your possession. Number 1, there's the money that you actually need to survive, and that money is guaranteed. God assures and promises you that he will provide you with the money that you personally need to survive. Take a look at these words. First, there is income from one's own needs. This God assures every creature that has a spark of life to the end of its days. Every creature is given what it needs. God is our maker. He doesn't leave us to our own devices. He provides for our needs. But the second kind of wealth is the money that you receive to support the people around you. Income for the needs of others, like wife, children, servants, attendants, and the like. This is not promised by God to all people, but only to a select few. Some people are able to be providers for others, and others can just provide for themselves. It is, but only to a select few under certain conditions. It is something that may happen at one time and not at another. according to the dictates of the Creator's ways of kindness and justice. We don't know how this works. Leila chachamim lechem, says King Solomon in the book of Ecclesiastes, I believe. The bread does not go to the wise. The bread does not go to the wise, and therefore, not everybody's able to be a chacham to find the means to provide for others. If God chooses you worthy, then you will. If he doesn't, then you won't. Hence the furlough and firing of other people concept that's going on right now. And the third kind of money, so the first kind of money is money that you need for your own survival. That is guaranteed by God. It's, what do they say? Guaranteed by, the heaven bank. Number two is the money that is to support other people. And that money is not necessarily guaranteed by God. Some people are worthy, some people aren't. And the third kind of money is fascinating. Is money that is being entrusted into your care for the time being. It's not intended for your use. Third is income to be held as wealth. This is money that is of no use to the owner, but which he preserves, protects, bequeaths to someone else, or loses. It's like money in transit. The ignorant person thinks that all the wealth decreed to him by the Creator is meant for his own satisfaction and physical maintenance. And so he's eager to acquire it and works hard for it, while it may turn out that he has accumulated it for his successor, his widow's next husband, his murderer, or his greatest enemy. Wow, that's the third kind of wealth in this. So again, we have three kinds of money. Only the first kind is intended for your own use. So the second test of wealth is the mistaken notion that you think that all the money in your possession belongs to you and is supposed to be used by you, when in reality, it's just being entrusted to you under your vigilance, but not intended for your use. The self-centered narcissist believes that everything is his, but the believer, the one who trusts in God, knows that God is in charge and God will decide where that money needs to go. And the third and final test of wealth is the need for accolades and admiration by the people that he supports. His third error is that he provides others with their income as ordained for them by the Creator through his agency, and he reminds them of his favor toward them, as if he were that provided them with income, supported them, and showed himself benevolent towards them, and he expects them to thank and praise him profusely and be subservient to him. He wants them to kiss his toes. He becomes arrogant, proud-hearted, and haughty, and feels no gratitude to God for this privilege. He thinks that if he were to deny the others this income, it would remain in his possession, and that if not for him, their income would be cut off. That is the third test of wealth. And look at the reference in which Rabbi Dovid Vigler calls such a person. He says, this poor man who believes that others should be kissing his toes, should be praising him and extolling his virtues because he is the source of kindness and not merely the conduit. This poor man labors in vain in this world and forfeits his reward in the world to come. Remember, folks, money is a test. As long as we know that money is a test, it's actually a very difficult test. Because it's so easy to rest upon your laurels, each man under his vine and each man under his fig tree, and just mind your own business and say, God, you know what? I don't need you. It's so easy to fall into the patterns of gluttony and avarice and complacency and self-sufficiency. It's such a difficult test, but that's the bombshell that Rabbi Dovid Vigler is dropping upon us here today to let us know that money is a test. If you have been chosen to have an abundance of resources, God is testing you. And I wonder what kind of grade you think you're getting on your test of wealth. Are you an A student when it comes to wealth? Or are you a straight F? Think about that, friends. I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on this very fascinating idea. Andrew Broussard, good morning. Terry Zweig, shalom. How are you? Jennifer Sinowitz, good morning. First time with us. Welcome to my wife, Tochana, and Hani Levine. Shalom, Boker Tov. So, friends, this is the idea. Did I say hello to Dean? Dean Dubansky, good to see you. So, friends, money is a test. I don't think that's too difficult of a concept to assimilate, but it certainly is a powerful realization, which Rabbi Dovid Vigler is introducing us to. Now, the wise person, I keep on talking about the wise man, but it could be the wise woman just as much. It's just a genderless reference. I'm just using the term man, whatever. In the Hebrew, it's actually genderless. It's the enlightened one, the hamaskil, the enlightened one, right? So the intelligent acts on all three accounts, on all three tests in a way that, number one, the earnings are all earned according with his religious and secular interests. So the means of acquiring wealth is aligned with his religious and secular interests. Number two, in regard to income and possessions, his trust in what is in God's hands is stronger than what he controls himself, because he does not know if the latter is income provided him for his own money, for his own needs, or is placed in his care. So he relies only on God. He said, look, even though I have a lot of money in my bank account, I don't know if all of that money really belongs to me, if God wants me to use it yet, and therefore I'm always turning to God for my maintenance and blessing. And number three, the enlightened one attains honor in this world and a fitting reward in the world to come. As it says in the psalm beginning, sing praise to God, happy is the man who fears God, all the way to the end. So this person is not a guy who's looking over his shoulder, waiting for everybody to give him accolades and gratitude, because he knows everything comes from God. I'm merely the conduit. A guy sent a contribution to help other people here in the community. One of our constituents sent to help other people, and he keeps on telling me how grateful he is for being the conduit of God for this extraordinary ability to help other people. He wants no accolades. He wants no one to know what he's doing, and it is such a beautiful thing for this person who's, thank God, being endowed with success, to be able to express his charity in such a silent and anonymous way, making such a difference to people's lives, but doing that in a way that he verbalizes his anonymity, because I'm nothing more than the agent of God. Now, here's what happens to the people that are constantly seeking honor through wealth. It's a big problem. There are types of people who make the effort of acquiring great wealth only for the love of honor and to make a name for themselves, so that no matter how much they have, it is not enough for them. And that is due, this is so beautiful, he says that this is due to their ignorance of what will bring them real honor in this world and in the next. Because the mirage is that wealth equals honor. And that's a big mistake. It doesn't work that way. It actually becomes a vicious cycle. It is occasioned by their observing the deference paid to the wealthy by the common people, who honor them only because they crave what they have and desire to attain what is in their possession. So they see the ordinary people, the simple folk, honoring the wealthy folk, and they think, oh, that's what I want. I want to be like that person. I want to be honored too. How do I be honored too? I just have to earn a lot of money. If they reflected and understood that it's not the power of the wealthy to give anything to or to withhold it from anyone unless God has decreed it, they would not set their hopes on anyone besides for God, and would find worthy of honor only one whom the Creator has distinguished with outstanding qualities, for which he is worthy of the Creator's honor. And now what happens is, if they fail to realize that the honor comes to them because God has chosen them, not because they have the money, because what they're focusing is on the facade, they're focusing on the clip-on, the superficiality of the resources, and not on the fact that they were chosen by God to be trustees of wealth. If they're focusing on the superficial, then here's what happens in a vicious cycle. Because common people, by honoring the wealthy, exhibit ignorance of what truly warrants honor. The Creator in turn gives them more ignorance, measure for measure. You're ignorant, God gives you more ignorance. Why? Namely, of the means to what they desire, so that all their lives they're caught up in a hamster wheel, in strenuous effort and much toil, while they neglect what they're obligated to exert themselves in and pursue. What are they obligated in? Fulfilling their obligations to the Creator and offering thanks for his kindnesses toward them. The pursuit of these would no doubt be more likely to lead to the achievement of their desires As the verse states, long life is in its right hand and its left hand are riches and honor. Riches and honor come from you. So because they're stuck in the superficiality, where they see people with money and they say, oh, the person with money is honorable, I want to be like that person. Because in their own minds, they're focusing on the superficial and ignoring the essence, the fact that they were chosen by God. Therefore, God rewards them with more ignorance that keeps them like a donkey running after a carrot, that they're just running after this mirage of wealth and shirking their responsibilities or neglecting or not even being aware of their true responsibilities, which is to the essence that if you were found worthy by God, then you would be chosen as God's trustee for wealth. Why? Because they get lost in the resources and not in the source of the resources. Interesting that in English the word resource speaks about a source, that you're a source of someone else. It's interesting. I wonder if you can play with this word a little bit. Resource is wealth. Is like a source that is drawn from somewhere else to I don't know. Not sure if you could do that. Anyways, the bottom line is, when it comes to wealth, and this is what we're going to wrap it up with 3 meditations right now. The bottom line is that the true source is from God. One finds among those who seek wealth. The one person attains all that he desires of it through the one person attains all that he desires of it through the means we have mentioned, and another attains it through inheritance and the like. So whether you're making your money through making a vessel, like we've spoken about, or through inheritance, or through some other fantastic way that you made your money, and each thinks that it is the means. Every one of us thinks it was the means. It was my inheritance. It was my grandmother. It was my stock. And we get lost in the means that made him acquire it, that without the means he would not have inherited it. Hence, he exalts the means and not the cause. He gives an analogy now. The Rabbi Dovid Vigler gives us an analogy of water in the desert. When God has decided, I'm not going to do the analogy right now. I'm going to go straight into the 3 meditations. When God has decided that you are going to make money, you're going to get that money. There's nothing you can do to get away from it. And when God has decided that you're not going to make the money, there's nothing you can do to not make the money. In his words, he says, so it is with a wealthy man who acquired his wealth through certain means. If those means had not been available to him, he would have acquired it through other means. If God decided that you're going to be wealthy and it didn't go through one way, it's going to go through another way. As previously explained, as it says in Samuel, for nothing can prevent God from saving, whether by many or by few. Okay, so before we get into 3 meditations, I see some comments coming in here. Sarah says, we will pray for someone else to receive. Okay, so Sarah's talking about some interesting mechanism here that when you pray for someone else, you get answered first if you have the same need. It's not really aligned with what we're learning right now. We're learning the doctrine of trust. You're talking about some other manner of making wealth. It's like a loophole in the system. Okay. Dean, good morning, Rabbi. Hi, Dean. Rob, if the source of wealth belongs to God, why does every shul honor the persons who donate with plaques on the walls and names on the doors? Always count on Rob to stir up some, to stir the pot, right? Okay, so let me explain. The Talmud says that Rebbe Mechabed Ashirim, Rebbe, who was the very wealthy Rabbi Yehuda the Prince was his full name, who lived in Roman times, he would honor the rich, shamelessly honor the rich. Why would he do so? Why would Rebbe honor the rich? Seriously, Rabbi, you don't have time for the poor people? You only spend time with the rich people? Yet Rebbe, by the way, this was the man who had the audacity, the positive audacity, to write down the oral Torah. The Torah that was given to Moses was written Torah, the 5 books of Moses, and there was the oral Torah. He was the one that made the executive decision to write down the oral Torah in the Mishnah. This is Rebbe. He's an incredibly important personality in Jewish history. And he was the one that would shamelessly honor the rich. What up? Answer is, the way the Rebbe explains it, is that Rebbe recognized the following, that really God is self-obligated to provide for all the needs of all people. Everyone should be getting equally. And that was actually the claim that King David laid to God. He said, God, You created all of us, and some of us you make rich and wine, and some of us you make poor. It's not fair. To which God responds in the book of Psalms, Chesed ve'emes manyin saruhu, if not for inequality, where would kindness and truth come from? What God is answering David is that God debited the poor and he credited that amount to the rich so that the rich would do the right thing and replenish the funds to the poor. And thus, they rightfully owned funds. And thus, they would be exercising kindness and truth. Remember, that's why the word tzedakah doesn't mean charity to the undeserving. It means justice returning to its rightful owner. That's the word tzedakah. So that's the reason why Rebbe would honor the rich, because he figured like this. Why did God choose the rich person to be the one with the credits? Must be because God trusts the rich person to return the money to the poor, to its rightful owner. And the fact that God didn't do that to the poor person means that God doesn't really trust the poor person so much. And if God trusts the rich person, how much more so should I respect and honor the people that God honors? And that's the answer to your question, Rob. Why do we give accolades to the people that give tzedakah, that donate to the synagogues with plaques and honors? Because God has chosen them to have that extra. Therefore, we should honor them too. But there's another reason. There's another reason, because that's not to the exclusion of the poor. It doesn't mean like we're making different classes here. Like the poor people, we don't honor you because God doesn't trust you so much. And the rich people, we want to honor you because God trusts you more. That's not the only reason. Another reason is a fundamental principle in Talmud, is that we're supposed to publicize the mitzvah as much as possible so that others will be inspired to follow suit. When people see that Rob Berger made a big donation to the synagogue, then Marty Knopp is sitting there and he's like, oh my gosh, Rob made this huge donation. I've got to do the same thing. I'm also a mensch, and I've got to show my medal. So Marty steps up to the plate only because Rob did it, and Rob was publicized. Not to say that Marty wouldn't do it. Marty, I'm sure you would do it. But my point is that the mitzvah becomes like a motivator to other people, and that's another reason why we do it. So yes, the highest form of tzedakah is when it's anonymous. You're welcome, Marty. The highest form of tzedakah is when it's anonymous, like the fellow that I was describing to you before. You'll never know his name because this person just wants to remain anonymous. But if I, as the rabbi, might want to press him in certain conditions and say, look, please allow us to honor you. For example, at an event, at a concert, at a gala, we'll have our honorees because we want people to know how helpful you are to the Jewish community, so that people will say, well, if my neighbor or my doctor or my, friend is so helpful to their Jewish community, then I should also be helpful to my Jewish community. And it doesn't only mean money, by the way. It's time, treasure, or talent. Any one of those counts. Time, treasure, or talent. And every one of us, no matter how rich or poor you are, has either time or treasure or talent to give. And when you see other people giving, that's what inspires you to give as well. So, Rob, I hope that answers your question. And welcome to Lucy Brown. So let me just hit the 3 meditations as we close out the second of the 7 needs of man for which we turn to God. Okay? And if you'd like to see this, let me find it in this book. I'm actually using a different book right now. Here. So now I'm carrying on page 417. I'm carrying on page 417 right now. I'm going to go through the 3 meditations that you're supposed to take with you, the takeaways. These are the takeaways to wealth, because, wealth is a very important component of our lives. So let's try to be more practical about it. And give us a takeaway. Rabbeinu Bachai gives us something which we can take with us, literally. The way one should trust in God in regards to one's livelihood is as follows. If it is withheld from him on occasion, he should say in his heart, the one who brought me into this world at a certain time and at a certain moment, neither earlier nor later, he is the one who withholds from me my livelihood until a certain moment and day, knowing what is best for me. So if you're going through financial struggles, meditate upon the fact that God brought you to this world at a certain time, and God is providing for your needs at a certain time. It's going to come at the right time. Everything's going to be good in the end. If it's not good, it means it's not the end. By verbalizing this meditation, by bringing it to your conscious thought, you're emphasizing God's presence, God's exclusive power in your life, and thus drawing upon yourself like a lightning rod the blessing of God, right? That's what you're doing, even through the difficult times. Now, so too, when his income is very limited. Now, in the second level, the second meditation of the three. Now, if your income is limited, very limited, you're getting something, but it's not enough. It's very limited, but it does not exceed the basic minimum by even the slightest. You're getting exactly what you need. Now, we should reflect on the second meditation and say, he provided me at the start of my life with my daily food at my mother's breasts. I didn't need to work too hard to get mom's milk according to my need, and enough to sustain me until replacing it with something better. And the limited supply did not harm me in the least. When I was suckling from my mother's breast, I got exactly what I needed. No harm done. In the same way, I will suffer no harm on account of the limited minimal income he gives me now to the end of my days. That's the second meditation, once again, making it explicitly and unequivocally clear that the origin of my blessing is only in the hands of God, drawing the power of God's blessing upon you. Finally, he will be rewarded for this, as the Creator said of the forefathers in the wilderness, who were in a similar situation. Remember, the Jewish people in the desert, they were receiving exactly enough food for one day. You're in the desert for 40 years. Nobody knows. There's no restaurants, no supermarkets, no Uber Eats or delivery dudes, right? You just have food for one day miraculously falling out of heaven. They would actually make a blessing on the food. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min hashamayim. Thanking God for the bread that came out of the heaven, as opposed to hamotzi lechem min aretz. But you had to finish the food in one day. You were not allowed to leave anything left over for the next day, right? How's that for ultimate exhibition of trust in God? Remember, I've said to you many times that trust is the essence of Judaism, and you'll find it as an underlying theme throughout the entire Torah. We said the matzah coming out of Egypt was an exhibition of trust in a previous class, and today we're saying that the manna that they ate in the desert was an exhibition of trust. It's almost like we were having our training to become the chosen people, the Jewish people. For 40 years we lived in the desert, literally hand to mouth, so that we would know for the rest of the next 3,000 years, we would know that never stress out over money. God is always in control. Even if you don't have exactly as much as you need or any more than what you need, God is in control. Don't get nervous. And by the way, that's why the prophet tells us, I think it was Moses, he tells us to take a jar of manna and store it in the Holy of Holies in the temple. There were only 2 or 3 items there. There was a staff of Aaron. There was the staff of Aaron that flowered up with flowers, which showed non-egalitarianism in Judaism. Very, very interesting with the conflict of Korach. When Korach wanted to make everybody equal, and God proved with the flowering of Aaron's staff that some people are supposed to be priests and some people are supposed to be regular. That's a different sermon. But there was a jar of manna, a pitcher of manna, which the people brought out in the generation of, who was it, Yeshayahu or Yechezkel, when I think it was Ezekiel, when they didn't have time to study Torah, and Ezekiel says to them, listen, look at the manna. The manna is here to show you that the blessing comes only from God anyways. It's not going to help you to work harder. You need to make sure your relationship with God is in the right place. So you will be rewarded for this, as the Creator said of our forefathers in the wilderness, who were in a similar situation. Quote, the people shall go out and gather that day's portion each day. Go cry in the ears of Jerusalem and say, how you followed me in the wilderness in a land not sown. It was Jeremiah with the story of the picture. Furthermore, if his livelihood, now this is the third and final meditation. Furthermore, if his livelihood comes to him in one way or not another, in one place and not in another, through one individual and not another, here's what he should say to himself. If you're finding that your income is coming to you one way and not from another way, say to yourself the following: the one who created me in a certain form and image, with a certain nature and disposition, to the exclusion of the other forms, natures, and qualities, as this is best for me. The Creator that designed me, He has chosen that my livelihood come to me in the ways most suitable for me and not in other ways. Don't sweat it. Everybody else is making money in the stock market and you're not. Don't worry about it. God will customize your way to earn. The one who brought me into this world in a certain place and by means of two particular individuals, mom and dad, from among all the peoples in the world. My people, the people that made me are different to the people that made you. Right? Your parents are not my parents. He has determined that I earn a living in a certain land and through a certain individual whom he has made a means to my livelihood for my benefit. As it says in scripture, God is just in all his ways. And this, my friends, concludes the second of the 7 needs of mankind, which is the need for money. If you can take this meditation with you, then you'll be okay. It's a test. Money is a test. And the big question is, what kind of grade are you getting to in your financial test with God? If you're getting an A, God is going to keep on testing you more and more. If you're getting an A with $150,000 in the bank, then God might test you with $500,000 in the bank. But if you're getting an F, he doesn't need to test you anymore. Let's be smart about this, friends. And with that, we've reached page 419 at the top of the page in the duties of the heart. Let me take a look at the comments before we move on. On Facebook and YouTube, says Sarah, when we type a reply to a specific statement of the speaker or to a comment from a participant, it shows for everyone and cannot be addressed to an individual. Okay, on Zoom chat, this is not the case. The result is about the time the speaker participant sees the comment on YouTube, it appears to be relevant. Look, Sarah, there's benefits to everything, and whatever. This is what's working for us right now. So Friday morning's class is on Zoom as well. So, and also tonight, by the way, Hannah is giving a class on ethics of the fathers at 8 o'clock, and that's going to be on Zoom. So feel free to join her over there. Hi, Harry. Good morning. Jennifer said, what times and days you are live, Rabbi? So Jennifer, good morning and welcome to you, Yomer, as well. We are live every weekday morning at 8:30. And if you'd like a full list, you can check us out on jewishgardens.com. Just go to jewishgardens.com. You can subscribe to our email at the top over there. And you can also see all the virtual classes that we do during this quarantine. You can also just go to youtube.com/jewishgardens and click on the subscribe link at the top of the page. Also, the little bell next to the subscribe link will give you notification of all the classes that we are doing. And with that, friends, I'm going to continue now for a few minutes in our meditation and prayer class. Meditation and prayer class. What we've been learning in recent weeks, you'll find that we've been learning to read Hebrew, to understand Hebrew, and to meditate Hebrew based on Chabad Hasidic philosophy. Specifically, we focused on the blessings before food. Those classes you'll find at jewishgardens.com/spiritual. That's jewishgardens.com/spiritual. You'll find all of the classes on meditation and prayer for mindful eating. And now we are in the middle of the prayer of the Shema. Shema is the most important prayer, the most famous prayer of the Jewish people. And our goal is that by the time we're finished this quarantine, instead of you emerging from this quarantine as clueless about Hebrew as you were when you entered this quarantine, we are making lemonade out of lemons by taking advantage of this time and making sure that we can actually become familiar with Hebrew. Yes, we can. Hebrew can become your second language or third language. You can become comfortable with it. Our strategy is 100 Hebrew words that you use on flashcards. You flash the cards, you write the Hebrew on the one side, the English translation on the other, and you flash through the cards on a regular basis. If you do this, my friends, you will surprise yourself, even at your age. Yes, you can. You will learn Hebrew. And we now have done 27 words already in our Hebrew word diary. If you go through the classes at jewishgardens.com/spiritual, you will find all of those Hebrew word diaries. We're now in the middle of the first paragraph of the Shema. I have been asked about where to find this verse. So I'm going to show it to you on the screen. I'm going to show you the verse on the screen. I've got to work out this technology about how we can truly put it up on the screen. I'm not sure exactly how to do it, but here it is. So if you have the blue prayer book, it's this one, the blue Chabad Siddur. You'll find it on page 42. And here you have the Shema. Oops, I can't see what I'm doing. You see the Shema? Shema Yisrael. It's in Hebrew and in English. So open a prayer book, and hopefully you'll see it over there. I'm going to work out a way to post it. I'm developing, trying to get better and better each day. In any event, here's what we're learning today. We're learning today, what's it, Mickey Rabbi? You should mention it's 8:30-ish, not 8:30 on the dot. Yes, there you go. My lawyer is defending me. Thank you, Mickey. Marilyn, shalom. Great to have you, Susan's sister. And Henny, thank you for your comments. Good. So we're learning about meditation and prayer. The next word that we're learning is, we're up to the third sentence of the Shema. I'm going to spend just a few short minutes on this. And you shall love God your God with all your hearts, with all your soul, and with all your very. We went to that verse. And these words, which I am commanding you today, shall be upon your heart. That's the middle of the sentence. We're in the middle of that sentence. And these words shall be asher, that anochi, I. Now, last lesson I spoke to you about the meaning of the word anochi. I spoke to you that the word anochi means I. It's actually an Egyptian word. It's not Hebrew, which became incorporated in the Torah. It's an acronym for I have inserted my essence into my writings, that we capture God's essence through studying his Torah and through reading the words of prayer, which are from Torah. And therefore, it's a profound meditation when you say the word Anochi, that you're capturing God's essence. That was last class. But today we're moving to the next word, mitzavcha. What a beautiful, fundamental word we're coming across today. This word is so incredibly important. You've heard this word a million times, but you might not have ever understood its true meaning. And this word will truly transform your Jewish experience, your entire relationship with God. You may have heard the concept from me before, but not in the context of Hebrew reading. So that's why I'm going to give it a little bit more of a focus. The first letter of the root here is, the word is mitzvah. Mitzvah is the word. What does the word mitzvah actually mean? So here's the word, the root of the word. Every word in Hebrew has a root. Sometimes it's a 3-letter root. Mostly it's a 3-letter root, and sometimes it is a 2-letter root. In this case, it's a 2-letter root. The root is tzav. Starts with a tzaddik and a vav. Now the letter tzaddik looks like a twisted pretzel, not to be confused with the letter ayin, which looks quite similar. The letter ayin here looks very similar to the tzaddik. This is the ayin and this is the tzaddik. Okay, the ayin looks more like a silent pair of eyes looking at you, and the tzaddik is more like a twisted pretzel. You got to really get used to this. And if you haven't done so already, go to the App Store, Google Play Store, and buy the RIIH, Read It in Hebrew app. It will set you back $1.99, but it's well worth the investment to become familiar with the Hebrew letters with a flashcard system in that app, RIIH. So tzaddik looks like a twisted pretzel, and it makes a tz sound, TZ, tz. Right? The second letter is the vav, which is very straight and very thin. When you put these very straight, very thin, is for v, right? So it goes from the top of the line to the bottom of the line. It goes, just fills up the whole line. It's a vav. So these two letters form the root of the word mitzvah. Tzav means to command. That's what the word tzav means. It means a commandment. It also can mean a, that's normally what it means, right? Normally what it means is to command. And that's why we Jews might have a problem with the mitzvah, because we're like, why is God telling me what to do? Hello, I didn't tell him what to do, so why is he telling me what to do? And some Jews have a problem with that. But on a deeper philosophical level, the word tzav actually comes from the Aramaic root, tzavta, which means together. It means together. That's why at sevet in Hebrew means a team. So when you are a football team, or if you're a security team, or you're whatever kind of team, a catering team, in the back of their shirts, when it says staff in America, in Israel would say sevet, tzadik vav taf, which spells team, because we're together. And that, my friends, is this word, which starts with a mem. That's how you create the word mitzvah. But this, my friends, is the meaning of the word mitzvah, which really, really means a connection. The true meaning of this word is that God has given us the commandments not because he's a control freak and he wants us to do as I say, or else I'll zap you. That's not what's going on here. The reason that God gives us a mitzvah is because he's giving us an opportunity to connect with him. Think of a powerful person. You have no way of connecting with that powerful person. I don't know, whether it's Bibi Netanyahu or Donald Trump, whether you like them or not, whether it's Elon Musk or the CEO of Apple computers. You have no connection to these people. You can't connect with them. But if they throw you a line and they call you, or they create a rendezvous point, or they make a connection, now you can connect with them. So imagine the King of Kings, the Master of the universe, is giving us an opportunity to connect with him. He's giving us 613 opportunities to connect with him if you're Jewish. And if you're not Jewish, he gives us 7 universal Noahide laws, the 7 laws of Noah, which, by the way, were ratified by every president of the United States since Ronald Reagan, without exception. We have 7 ways to connect with God as Gentiles and 613 ways to connect with God as Jews. These are opportunities. They're connection points. They're intimacies. Think of your relationship with your spouse. Your conversation with your spouse, your ability to connect with your spouse is not a chore, it's a gift. And that's how we look at a mitzvah. When you read this word in the Shema, Asher Anochi Mitzavecha, that I am commanding you, I urge you to reinterpret the translation of this word, not as I urge you, not as the commandments that I am commanding you, but that I am connecting with you. I care about you, says God. You are the apple of my eye. You are my one and only son or daughter. I care about you like nobody else. I am desperately yearning for a meaningful and deep relationship with you. Please do this mitzvah. And in many places throughout the Torah, we find that God pleads with us to do the mitzvah. He actually asks us, please. Like when God sends Abraham to bind Isaac upon the altar, he says, please do this for me. When God tells us, please walk in my ways. Because God wants us to connect with him. It turns our relationship with God on its head. Then instead of us thinking that God is this weirdo up in heaven, he's some sort of policeman in the sky that's watching over us, big brother. We're actually talking about a meaningful relationship with God, with someone that we love, with the source of our life, with the essence of our being, the creator of the universe, the one who holds the keys to our prosperity or to our poverty, God forbid, to our failure or to our success. And that's who God is. God is the most powerful entity of the universe. He is our soul. God wants to connect with us in a deep and meaningful relationship. Let's allow him to do that. And all we need to do is to set the ball rolling by doing the mitzvah. That, my friends, is the meditation behind the word mitzvah. Every time you see this word, there's a Torah portion called Tzav. We read it a few weeks ago. We didn't read it a few weeks ago during quarantine. It was the portion of Tzav. It was just before Pesach, I think it was. And the word means connect, right? It means command, but it also means connect. You'll find this word over and over and over and over in the Torah, all over the place in davening. And if you can just become familiar with this word, let's make this word number 28 in our word diary. Tzav, anything which has this root, the tzaddik and the vav, means connection, means commandment, but it also means connection. And that is what God is asking of us today. Okay, every mitzvah is a unique opportunity to be cherished and appreciated instead of checked off the list, right? Our final word for today, Asher Anochi Mitzavecha Hayom. Hayom means today. Hayom means today. Not a very difficult word, not very, nothing too profound going on over here, at least not that I'm able to identify. Let me just show you this word. The word starts with a yud. The root starts with a yud. Then it moves on to the letter Vav. And finally, it's got a letter Mem. Now, this Mem might not be the same mountain Mem that you're familiar with. And the reason is because at the end of a word, the Mem changes form. There's about 5 letters, I think it's 5 letters, that change when they appear at the end of a word, much like English has capital letters when they are at the beginning of the word. Every English letter changes when it's at the beginning of a sentence, So too, there are 5, in Hebrew, no letters change at the beginning of a word, but there are 5 letters that change at the end of a word. They're end letters. So this mem becomes a final mem when it's at the end of a word, and that's the word yom, which means day. Yom means day. Ha, yom means the day. Ha, at the beginning of a word means the, preposition of the. So when it says, that I am commanding you, hayom means today, like the day, today. That word yom you'll find very frequently in Hebrew. You'll find, how do you say Sunday in Hebrew? Yom Rishon, the day which is first. That's Sunday. Monday is called Yom Sheni, the second day, and Yom Shlishi, the Tuesday, is the third day, and that's how you keep on going. Yom means day. And then you have Yom Shabbat, which is the Shabbat day, right? You'll find that word coming up all the time. There's actually a very interesting story of a man in the Talmud who wanted to meet the Messiah. I told my kids the story when we went to Rome. Yes, Elaine, the hey at the beginning of the word does certainly give it emphasis that every day is unique. Good point. So when my family we went to Rome, I told my kids a story from the Talmud that there was a rabbi who wanted to meet Messiah. So he asked God, where can I find the Messiah? And God, I think he asked Elijah. He asked Elijah, where can I find the Messiah? So Elijah told him he's at the gates of Rome. Really? How would I identify him? So Elijah tells him that there's a lot of beggars at the gates of Rome. And all those beggars are covered up in bandages. They're very sick people, like lepers and stuff. So you'll notice that all the beggars take off all of their bandages, they wash them, and they put them back on. But there's one beggar over there who takes off one bandage at a time, washes it, and he puts it back on. And the next one, he washes it, and he puts it back on. That's the Messiah. Why is he doing that? Because he's always ready. He doesn't want to delay a moment. If God sends him to redeem the Jewish people, to redeem the world, with the coming of the Messiah, he doesn't want to be ready and not ready, caught with his pants down, and say, God, hold on, and he get dressed. He wants to be always ready. Fine. So the rabbi goes to Mashiach, and he says, I know who you are. When are you coming? He asks the Mashiach, and Mashiach answers him, Hayom. What does Hayom mean? We now know Hayom means today. The guy was super excited. Mashiach is coming today. OMG. Amazing. He runs off and he gets it ready. He's excited for Mashiach. And then, lo and behold, the sun sets. Comes back to the gates of Rome and he says to the beggar, to the Mashiach, he says, you lied to me. You said you were coming today. To which the Mashiach responded. He says, I said to you the first word of the verse. Hayom, today, im bekolo tishma'u, if you hearken to my voice. To his voice, if you listen to the voice of God. So in other words, I'm ready to come today is what he was hinting. If you guys just pull your socks up and get your act together, if you do the right thing, you do what God is asking of you. And that, my friends, is the meaning of the word hayom. We'll make that word number 29 of our Hebrew word diary. Yom is a very popular word. Yom means day. And with this, we can finish the verse. Look at this. Let's look at this verse now. I'm going to try to point to it. V'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh, and these words that I'm commanding you, share that. Sorry, v'hayu and will be hadvarim, the words ha'eleh, these words. Share that. Anochi I mitzavacha hayom, am commanding or am connecting with you today. Al levavecha. These are the two last words of the verse. Al levavecha means we now know what al levavecha means. Because we learned al levavecha in the first verse or the second verse of the Shema. Al means on, like el al. El al means two up. Al means on top. El means two. So el al means two on top, which is a really cool name for an airline, means two up. It's a nice name. Hopefully they'll survive this quarantine. Oh, God almighty. Anyways, Al means on. Levavecha, we've already learned the word levavecha in a previous class, means on your heart. It's one of our words in our Hebrew word diary. So El Al means to up. Al levavecha means on your heart. So these words that I'm connecting with you today shall be upon your heart. And we look at this, you look at the verse now, and it says, and these words which I am connecting with you today shall be upon your hearts. We now understand that God wants to connect with us through these words. He doesn't want to dominate or subdue us through his mitzvahs. He wants to connect with us through his words. And I told you that was the meaning of the word Anochi. Anochi means I have inserted and infused my essence into my writings. It is through my words that I'm connecting with you, says God. When you read my words, you're connecting with my essence. And that's what's going on over here as we finish the third verse of the Shema, hopefully becoming much more familiar with these words. Friends, keep up your Hebrew word diary. Take the time to write up your Hebrew words on a flashcard, front side and back side, and just go through it 5 or 6 times a day. When you go through it every day, what you'll be able to do is you'll burn it into you engrave it into your memory to the point that you will be so much more comfortable with the Hebrew, and you'll know what it means. You'll know what to meditate upon it. I encourage you to review these classes. It takes more than once to just let this concept assimilate. You'll find all the classes neatly organized at youtube.com/Jewish Garden. All the classes will be clearly listed at jewishgardens.com/spiritual, where you will find all of the Hebrew words and the Hebrew word diary explained. Friends, don't forget tonight, Rebbe Tzimcha is giving a class on Zoom. The link is in your email from Friday. Actually, you'll find the link at jewishgardens.com/Zoom. That is the link. jewishgardens.com/Zoom is the link for Chana's class tonight, also for my class on Friday morning. Chana's class tonight is on Ethics of the Fathers, chapter 3, I think it is. And I'm teaching Judaism at home. I'm teaching all about food, Jews and food, how we sanctify food, all the mitzvahs relating to food, or some of the mitzvahs relating to food. That's going to be taking place on Friday morning at 8:30 on Zoom, jewishgardens.com/Zoom. Be there or be square. Thank you very much for joining me here this morning, everybody. Shalom. Have a wonderful day. Take care and be safe.